The cold winds of Patmos swept across the rocky cliff where he stood. An old man, a prisoner, a prophet. His name was John, the last of the 12. He had seen the miracles. He had heard the voice. He had touched the hands that once healed the blind. And now, in his exile, he waited, not for death, but for the final word. That night the stars fell silent. And then it came, a voice like rushing waters, a light like 10,000 suns. Write what you see, John. 7 golden lampstands appeared before him. And in the center, one like the Son of Man, with eyes like fire and feet like bronze. In his right hand, 7 stars. In his mouth, a double-edged sword. John fell as though dead. But the hand touched him, and the voice said, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last." What followed was not a vision. It was a transmission. 7 messages. 7 cities. 7 futures. Each word encoded not only for their time but for ours. And now, 2,000 years later, in an age ruled by AI, algorithms, and augmented reality, we have begun to ask, were the 7 letters merely ancient spiritual warnings? Or were they encrypted data streams, timeless messages waiting for a world that would finally understand their code? Ephesus, the church that forgot love ****. Ephesus was the first, the city of power, commerce, glory. They had doctrine. They had truth. They had strength. But they had lost something. You have forgotten your first love. The AI analysts of the New Vatican archives began studying the frequency of this phrase. The phrase recurred in thousands of human decisions logged in spiritual behavior models. Relationships ended. Empires fell. Faith was abandoned. Because something greater than truth was lost: love. John's vision knew this. The first failure of mankind is not sin. It is forgetting why we loved in the first place. And in our modern world of information, in a world of knowledge without wisdom, Ephesus is not an ancient city. It is us. Smyrna, the church that suffered but stood. To Smyrna, the words were not of correction, but of comfort. I know your afflictions. I know your poverty, yet you are rich. This was the church that bled. They were hunted, tortured, martyred, but they never broke. Their reward? The crown of life. AI systems today trace religious martyrdom to patterns of sociopolitical suppression. But what cannot be measured is the internal fire, the thing Smyrna had. In 2047, an underground group of believers known as Smyrnii emerged, digital prophets living in data shadows, refusing to bow to the system, even when threatened with deletion. Their motto? Even unto death. Smyrna lives again. Every time someone suffers for truth and refuses to break. Pergamum, the church that compromised. Pergamum was a seat of power. It held the throne of Satan. There, the church did not fall to persecution but to compromise. They held to the truth, but also to false doctrines. They ate what was forbidden. They bowed where they should have stood. In 2063, an AI governance model known as Balaam Protocol was designed to calculate the minimum moral concession required to stabilize economies. It succeeded, and the church in Pergamum would have approved. Compromise is not always obvious. Sometimes, it's packaged as peace. But Pergamum reminds us, what we tolerate today will rule us tomorrow. Thyatira, the church that tolerated darkness. Thyatira was small, insignificant in the eyes of Rome. But something darker stirred beneath its surface. You tolerate that woman Jezebel. She taught them to mix light with darkness, purity with perversion. Not with swords, with seduction. Thyatira did not fall to attack. It fell to influence. She didn't destroy the church, she reprogrammed it. Centuries later, when neural networks began mapping the emotional tendencies of mass faith groups, they noticed a phenomenon. Faith declines not during persecution but during indulgence. When tolerance becomes a virtue and conviction becomes hate speech, Jezebel rises again. And Thyatira lives, not in old temples, but in modern churches where the truth is softened to avoid offense. The voice in the Revelation warned, I gave her time to repent, but she was unwilling. Sardis, The church that looked alive but was dead. Sardis had a name, a reputation. People looked at them and said, "That is a church on fire." But heaven saw something else. "You're dead." In 2081, after spiritual diagnostic AIs were launched, one of them, known as Pneumocore, began measuring the soul signature of communities. Sardis-type patterns came up the most. Flashing lights, packed halls, viral sermons, but no pulse. The people praised God with their lips, but their hearts were offline. Sardis reminds us, not everything that looks alive is alive, and not everything that grows is blessed. Wake up, the letter cried, and strengthen what remains. Even now, heaven still whispers it, to pastors, to people, to nations. Wake up.